Are you recognizing the magic and the blessings and the miracles that are taking place in your life right now? Or are you so jaded by the 3D reality and how it's appearing to you that you're missing these because it's not the grand gesture that you thought it would be? Well, that's something that I'm navigating currently in my life and learning to recognize the small miracles and not fixate and focus on the grand miracles that I want to show up in my life, because I'm learning that's really where the special moments reside, is in those small miracles and those small moments of magic that happen in our lives that we can explain away as coincidences, but then too, when you have that spiritual lens and you look at things, you see the true underlying magic that just took place, and a confirmation from the universe that you are on the right path and you are making the right decisions as you're faced with various circumstances. I say that because I relayed in a previous video, I talked about an experience where I went to a concert and I met this lady in line. It was a moment in that circumstances that I really had to step into my boundaries or enforce my boundaries. And in my opinion, that situation wouldn't have happened had I not put my boundaries in place. Well, I was with a friend group and I was stuck between, or I shouldn't say stuck, I felt stuck between trying to be there, show face, please my friends, but then also too, I wanted to get inside because there was posters that I wanted to get, and I didn't want to miss out. So it was that dichotomy of, do I stay here and people please like old Brandon would do, or do I step into my raw power that the new Brandon is doing and be like, hey, I love you guys, I want to hang out, etc., but there's something that I want to accomplish and I need to go ahead and go inside, even if that means, hey, kind of leaving you guys behind for the time being, not disrupting the fun, the enjoyment, the partying that you're doing, but I have something that I want to accomplish. And so that was the first step. Once I did that, I got inside, and like I've told the story before, there was a merch line because Dave Matthews is the concert that I was at, and they're very big on posters. So in that particular day, there was a poster that was shown that was for that particular day that I really wanted. And so here's the poster right here. So in essence, not sure how good you can see it, but I'll move it up a little bit so you can kind of see that there is water there, and there's a woolly mammoth that's halfway in the water and then it's halfway out of the water. And then if you look, there's an actual one-eyed cyclops on the top. So when I saw this for the day's concert poster, it immediately spoke to me as someone navigating both worlds, the seen and the unseen. The water represents emotions to me, and then being above water, being able to navigate those dynamics. And so the artist is Jeff Mazza, I believe his name. I'm not sure his first name, but I know his last name. He goes by Mazza on Instagram. So basically, when I saw this, I just had to have it. And that was what was going through my mind when I was standing in line, that I wanted to get in there and get that print, because to me, it was symbolic of this whole journey that I've been going through and going on. It was a nice capstone to end this particular trip because it was the poster for the last day. So after I told my friends basically, hey, look, I want to get inside and I want to get this poster, etc., broke away from them, got in line, and wind up getting inside. And as I walked inside, like I said, I saw this lady that was there. It was like she was standing in line. She looked at me, and I kind of had that decision to make. Well, I felt like I should be in the line, but when I saw her, part of me was like, nah, I don't want to go over there because I know she's probably just going to talk to me, etc. I don't feel like dealing with it in a moment. But it was as if when she looked at me and we exchanged glances, it was as if, hey, I'm waiting for you. Are you ready to get on this ride and have this experience? So as I said in the other video, I went through the experience. She and I talked. We had a great time. And as we got through the line, I went up, and one of the big things in the posters for Dave Matthews is there's two different variants. There's the normal variant, which is the one that I have right here, and then there's what they call a foil variant, which is like a special edition one. And every concert that I had been to on my journey of self-love, I've been able to get the foiled variants of those posters. So when I stepped to the booth after finished talking with the lady in line, I asked them, I was like, hey, I would like the foil variant of this particular poster. And they said, hey, sorry, we're all sold out. So in that moment, I felt a little bit defeat because I was trying to build my portfolio of memorable moments because I wanted to frame them as a memorabilia or scrapbook of sorts as far as my journey of self-love this summer. But I was like, you know what? I showed up. I was there and present for the lady, and in my mind, that was the most important thing in that particular moment, was being there, because she shared with me a very vulnerable part of herself and her journey that she was going through, and I was able to give compassion and be there and provide a little bit of smile and pass on some love to her. And to me, that felt great. And in that moment, I told myself that if it was meant to be, that the divine would align me with circumstances that would allow me to get the foil variant of the poster that I had to complete my scrapbook, I guess you would say, my poster scrapbook of my emotional journey that I've been on for this entire year. And so I walked away from the booth, feeling a little bit dejected because I wasn't able to secure it, but resolute in the faith, knowing that if I was intended to have it, that the divine would align circumstances so that way I could come into possession of it, or I would meet someone that has that poster, and that once I tell them the story, they would give it to me. Just something would happen that would bring that poster, that foiled version, into my life if it was meant to be. Confirmation burp there. So when I went back later that evening, I went to the friend's house, and my buddy's wife, she's very big into posters, and she had a lot of them. So she broke out her portfolio binder and was going through and telling me about the different ones and showing me the different artists that she had collected. And then that's where I really learned about the artist that created this poster. And so through that, I started checking him out on Instagram, followed him, and lo and behold, he made an announcement that he was going to be releasing foiled variants of the poster, but it was just going to be through his shop, and that he was only going to be releasing 50 signed copies. So immediately that perked my ears up. I put some notifications in place to help remind me that when that sale was going to go live. So those that know me, have been around for a while, you know that I love going walking out in the woods. So I just so happened to be going out and walking in the woods around the time whenever that poster drop was going to happen. And so just trusting that if it was aligned for me, it was going to work out, and not being fearful that I was going to miss out on an opportunity. So I went on my walk out in the middle of the woods. The cell phone reception wasn't that great, but I maintained the faith, and the alarm went off to let me know, hey, it's 2 or 3 minutes before the drop time is active. So I pulled out my phone as I was walking, looked at my bars, didn't really have any bars on my phone. So I'm like, part of me was like, oh, great. I'd set all these things in motion to try and ensure that I'm here to get this poster, and I'm potentially going to miss it. But then I told myself, Brandon, if this is meant to be, then it will work out. So have faith in that. So the sale went live. As I'm walking through the forest, I go through the motions to order the foiled variant of the poster, and thankfully I was successful, and my order went through. It said, thank you, Brandon, for your order. In 3 weeks, we'll ship you out your poster, et cetera, et cetera. So, thinking back to that moment of talking to that lady in the line, knowing that that interaction was a divinely aligned interaction, keeping that faith despite my internal feelings wanting me to be upset because I wasn't successful in that particular moment of securing the item that I was looking for, still holding that faith and walking forward, that I was able to secure it. Now, that was great in itself, but where the magic really arrived is once I got the poster. So I turned 44 years old this year, and as I've been going on this emotional journey, like I said, this year was my year of my summer tour of self love. So, going to concerts, going to various activities, and doing things by myself so that way I can learn myself, the things that I like, the things that I love, so that way I can more effectively pour back into myself. And once I got the foil print and I looked at it, it really didn't hit me initially. So a lot of these prints, because it was a limited edition, he only made 50 copies. They were all numbered, 1 of 50, 2 of 50, 3 of 50. So it wasn't really until I started looking at the poster that it hit me. And to say that, I'm not embarrassed to say that I shed a couple of tears, because in that moment it showed me, in my opinion, that I was right and that I took the appropriate steps. And this was my reward, so to speak, for those steps that I had taken in that instance. And the reason I say that is because of this. So here's the foil variant of that same poster that I was seeking and trying to go after, that I wasn't able to secure at the particular show, but I trusted and I had faith that if it was meant to be, that I would be aligned with it. And so one of the things that, like I said, it really caught me, and I'll see if I can do a good job of showing it, but these posters are numbered. And remember I told you that I was 44 years old this year and that this has been an emotional journey for me in learning? So if you had to guess what number out of 50 I received, what would you think it is? Can you see that? So I just happened to receive number 44 out of 50. And not only that, but it's actually signed. You can't really see it, it's hard with the foil print. But in essence, it's a signed version from the artist, from Maza. So family, when I tell you that when I saw that number 44 on the poster, this being my year where I turned 44, this is the year that I learned to navigate the unseen and seen realms, to be able to navigate my emotions and tap into them, to understand what they're trying to tell me about the world around me. And then spirit basically aligning me with opportunities to obtain this poster that I wanted as a way to capstone for this entire journey that I've been taking on this year. For that poster to be number 44, like what's the chances out of the 50 posters that they went through to pick? Because I'm not for sure how they selected the order, but then again goes back to what I was saying, the miracles, the magic that takes place in our daily lives. What are the chances that they would select the poster number 44 to send to me? And to me, when I saw that, that is just a small sense of magic, the miracle that I recognize in my life as a way to, it's like a thumbs up from the universe, like job well done. You did it, Brandon. And oh, by the way, here's a little bit of, I'm getting a little bit emotional just thinking about it in itself. So, here's a little bit of love just to show you that we see you. We see you, we see what you're going through, and, you're doing great, we love you. So, and that's why I wanted to make a video about this, because I know that if I'm experiencing these small signs, these small miracles like this, had I not been in this current state and gone through the things that I've gone through, I probably would have saw that and overlooked it, and it wouldn't have resonated so deeply in my core, in my spirit. And that's why this is my attempt just to bring awareness to the collective and to all of us, just to say, what things in your life is spirit showing you, small miracles, small signs like that is potentially being overlooked because it's not the grand gesture that we want or we're hoping for, but it's something to show us just how aligned that we truly are, and the magic that's happening all around us that we're choosing not to see, or we're not seeing because of being so wrapped up in our 3D reality. So now when I hang these posters up and on my wall and I look at them and self-reflect on them, it's no longer just a piece of paper that represents a time in life, but it represents the journey that I've taken over the past 44 years to be able to navigate this reality. You know, it hasn't been easy, as I'm sure a lot of you know or you will come to know, but the rewards and the love that is shown to me from the divine in those moments when I do step into and through that fear and become and learn from it and become a better person. You know, those stamps like that just, makes me feel a sense of love that I can't explain. And my hope is just that all of you, as you go through these journeys, you recognize those moments, because in my opinion, those moments are greater than any grand gesture that spirit can ever do, because it's those little moments that just shows you, it's like when somebody's doing something for you, and say you have like a favorite piece of candy or something like that, and somebody knows that you're going through something, and it's just a simple fact that somebody remembered your favorite piece of candy and knows that you're going through something, and then they give you that piece of candy just as a way of letting you know that things will be okay, things will be all right. And in my opinion, that's what this poster now represents, is things, you may not always understand why things are happening in the moments when they do, but just know that we see you and you're doing the right thing. So just know I love you, family. So, as gonna go here, there's a song that Dave Matthews has called Pig that I never really listened to too much, and there's one verse in there where he says, dry your eyes. And every time I hear that part, it really hits me. And so I'm just going to leave you with this as I take off and go dry my eyes and reflect more on this moment and the impact that it has. But it also shows me that I can't stop. I can't give up. I can't get lazy. I can't get complacent. There's energies that want me to do that. But when I have moments like this and I look at these things, these small miracles in my life, it just makes me feel a sense of love that I've never felt before. And I just want more people to feel this love. So I'll leave you with that, family. I love you. I love you. I love you so much. And have a great day.